So it's been forever since my last video, and as I stated before, this was bound to happen. Videos were going to be secondary in my life. I have a lot going on, but as you can see, I ain't going nowhere. So again, I'm working on some projects, one being my Blair Witch sequel review that is currently in the works. Trust me, I have a lot to say about this movie, so definitely looking forward to ripping this movie to shreds. I thought I'd review both the Sea Beast and the Baymax series. The Sea Beast is a full-length Netflix film directed by Chris Williams, while Don Hall directed the Baymax series. Now the reason I'm reviewing both films is because I ripped the 2014 film Big Hero 6, A New A-Hole, for 35 freaking minutes, and they both directed that film. So to see them do work separate from each other was interesting, and I wanted to see how they both fared working independently as opposed to together. So let's start with the Sea Beast. The Sea Beast was actually a surprise. I haven't seen it since I moved out of my old place, but I do remember aspects of it pretty well. While I wouldn't say that it's anything fantastic, I do really appreciate how the film had pretty clear stakes and consequences. In a sense, this is what I felt Big Hero 6 was lacking for the most part. Despite some pretty heavy moments such as death and loss, the film established those themes but never really took it far enough. And the characters, oh god, the characters in Big Hero 6 never really seemed like they were in any real danger, and it never really even seemed developed. The script tames the degree of tension and makes every single encounter with the antagonist devoid of consequences, such as helping them get a ramp to jump off of and go straight to the pier so they can conveniently jump in the water and make it out alive and then just go away again, and then throwing a big metal container at them, but apparently also throwing a rock the next time because apparently throwing a big piece of metal didn't work. So are you actually trying to kill these people, or are you just trying to scare them, or what? But anyway, the Sea Beast thankfully does amp up the tension in many ways, except one moment where they bait and switch the character's demise. Didn't like that very much, but at the very least the film was actually pretty tense and engaging for many times, and I personally was into it more than I thought. The chemistry between Jacob and Maisie was very enjoyable, and I like how they are more similar to each other than they both think. How they both work off each other and how they see each other's perspectives on the whole situation involving these beasts was pretty watchable. They were both likable from the start actually, and they're both given a reasonable amount of depth. As far as Maisie goes, child characters can be painfully annoying, and for the first 10 minutes I was going to rule her off as just annoying, but she grew on me pretty fast, and the voice acting by Zara's Angel Hyder was consistently great, as well as Carl Urban as Jacob, who I didn't even realize that was even voicing Jacob until I, IMDb'd him. As far as the other characters are concerned, they're pretty decent. The only character I found to be pretty uninteresting was Captain Crow, who started to fall into the category of the cliche character blinded by revenge type. The animation, as expected, is fantastic, not quite up there with Pixar's, particularly Turning Red, which still looks better than any other CG animated film I can think of recent time, but it's great to see this type of animation translated to a non-Disney film. And speaking of that, I feel the reason this movie works better than something like Big Hero 6 is because director Chris Williams actually seemed like he had some legitimate creative control over this film, and for that, this one definitely feels like there's more of an edge, plus the uses of the animation style. I would really love to see Chris Williams continue to disband from the Disney property to make more films of this type, because I believe he has potential. My only real complaint about this movie is the plot. It's not bad, especially since the world building is fairly fleshed out and things seem to come together as far as the context for the conflicts between the Sea Beast and the humans, but at the same time I kept getting How to Train Your Dragon vibes because it's somewhat the same plot. Not exactly a bad thing, but it's just not entirely original. The beast designs look pretty good. Some of the cutesy animation looks for animals is getting a little too old for me. There were some interesting variations, but for some reason we only see them once and we hardly get any more expansion of these type of beast variations. They show up once and then the film focuses on just one, which I guess makes sense, but overall the main beast's character had some personality of her own, and it never felt like she was just a plot device, but she was fleshed out too. Overall, I had a fun time with this movie, and I say give it a watch, and I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And next was season 1 of Baymax, and it was pretty good. What? Now the reason I vibe with this show more than the movie is because I didn't care much about the Baymax character in the film. He felt like he was just dragged by Hero and never fully developed. He had one moment where they had a chance to add some dimension, but they took the Iron Giant plot point and used it for 5 seconds and then moved on as if it never happened in the first place. But here what they do with Baymax was actually pretty cool. He goes around with each episode and helps a certain character with whatever health situations he or she has, and I found that to be pretty unique. Each episode was only like 11 minutes long, but I felt they were pretty complete and ended up on a pretty heartfelt positive note. The last episode was pretty solid, and I liked how everyone he helped returned a helping hand, showing the impact of his actions. I do find it a little silly and distracting that he just happens to show up at the convenient moment someone is having a health issue, but I feel like the show is also aware of this and doesn't give a crap, so it's whatever. Each character that Baymax encountered was well developed, and Baymax's chemistry with them was pretty endearing. Now, I didn't want to do this, but apparently there's been some controversy involving a transgender male in a store, and apparently this caused right-wing activist Christopher S. Rufo to accuse Disney of grooming children who watch this show, as if maybe the transgender male was still in pre-op and probably hasn't gotten the full transition, so why is this a big deal? Not only is this irrelevant and small, but it's like a 5-second freaking scene with one line of dialogue. The only criticism I can say about it is that maybe the transgender flag shirt is obvious, but so the fuck what? How come no one's complaining about the 2 gay characters in the 4th episode? I mean, honestly, it never felt like it was sledgehammered, but more so it felt like it was just mentioned briefly. I saw no attempts at grooming, so what are you talking about, Chris? It seemed like they're just implementing various groups into their universe, and that's not a bad thing. Now, I'm not right or left wing, and I think this whole complaint is stupid, but if someone was going to ask me what I thought about the controversy of this 5-second scene, I'll just share what Adam from YMS had to say about it, because he said it better than me.
Let's say 10% of your film shows that a trans person exists, and your argument is that despite the other 90% of the film being cis, straight, whatever, somehow that small percentage, that fraction, that minority of the film is going to dictate how children live, which doesn't make any sense. And this is like within a film, and then you imagine like what's the rest of their day, like literally like a fraction of a percentage of their day.
Anyway, I'm not sure if this will lead to a 2nd season, and if it does, I'm not sure how much they really can do with this concept beyond him being like a friendly vigilante. I do love that this show is small scale. I just hope that if they do have a 2nd season, there's a degree of expansion. I kind of wish they just did a better version of the show Big Hero 6, the series that lasts only like 3 seasons, but I doubt they'll have the budget for that. This show was clearly aimed for a very young audience to sit back and just look at while they're playing with their toys, but overall the concept was still admirable, and I say this show is great for kids, so I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 5, possibly a 3.5, but I'm not really sure if I'm ever gonna go back to this show, but I do think it's worth a watch. Alright peeps, you will see more content from me. Sorry I haven't been as active as I used to be. It's just been a very busy life. I'm working on my Blair Witch sequel review, and I'll be reviewing recent movies that I've seen, of course. So peace out, be patient, and love y'all.